Wow. Okay, aloha and welcome in, guys. Excuse me. As you can hear, I'll get it right out of the way quickly. So I had hoped to be on last week to the lead up to the Super Bowl week, and on our way back from Vegas, somebody somewhere gave me COVID 7.0. I don't know what it was. I've been on bed rest and Mucinex. I'm telling you, that the wonder drug. But I have been down and out for the past 7 days. My son literally has been waking me up daily as I'm lying there in bed dying, asking, "Are we going to get to it? Are we going to get to it?" The people are waiting. So thanks for tuning in. We are sorry, but we are here early enough to get you guys some money, some props, some bets. And let's just start off with congratulations to everyone that went all the way back with us to August. Now, the Denver-Seattle game, or Super Bowl, did not come to fruition. We'll talk a little bit about that. Sean Payton, you don't go for 4th and 1 when you've got 3 points with the weather coming in. So we all know that. So that costed us, because with that kick at 10-0 in the AFC Championship, the analytics, data's data, facts are facts, and the analytics are that they kick that field goal and go up 10-0, and especially the way you guys saw that game play out with the weather, they're 89% to win that championship game. And I get it. A lot of people did not want to see a Denver Super Bowl with Seahawks and Stidham, because it would be probably a massacre. But that being said, that costed us 20 grand. Now, to the upside, as we've taught you all year long, and we are going to continue to do so, and we hope that you are paying attention, and we will show you our tickets after the fact once we cash them, but they're dated. That's one of the reasons we went to Vegas. So we still put in a bunch of bets. We're going to be showing you some tonight. We let the insiders know, the people that are with us, that have direct contact with us and are kind of like VIP clients, which we will be opening up next year, and direct lines to our me, our team, etc. We really hit a couple of nice ones in the NFC Championship. So the AFC Championship, we had so much riding on the Denver game. So all we did was we basically bet and again, my brain fart in August, for $10 on both ways, it would have covered. It would have been even better than the Denver-Seattle matchup. The Patriots-Seattle matchup would have been better on a payout basis. But for some reason, it went over my head with so much things going on in August, and I'm the only one who kind of compiles everything and goes to the window. Although the team is very helpful, but again, I'm the one who does kind of the final, so it's on me. And we missed it, but for $10, again, we would have had that covered. But in any event, so we hedged it. We had every possible combination covered except for Patriots and Seattle. So we got to Vegas early, and thank goodness the line had moved in our favor on the Patriots side. And then the odds actually went up even more in our favor. So for $500, we plugged down for every $500, you're getting a return of $3 grand. So you're 500 and 2,500 more. So I don't think that that's the way it's going to play out. So we put the minimal. We hedged it with 500 to get back $3 grand on if New England beats Seattle. No point spread. It's just a win or lose situation, a one and done, if you will. On the Seahawks side, that gave us, because we had a kind of a purse, if you will, just for this one hedge. So that gave us the ability to lay 1,500 on Seattle to beat the Patriots. That line went down, or not very much in our favor. It opened pretty low. It was pretty much what all the sharps expected. So it was like +2 something. When we see the ticket, you'll see. But 1,500, and actually it was funny, at the window I put it in for 1,400, and then I told, "Oh, make it 1,500." The guy's like, "Oh," because he's going to have to cancel the ticket. I said, "No, don't worry. Just do one for 1,400 like you just did, and then give me one more for 100." So he did that. So he was happy about it. But the 1,500 will get us back a total of 5,000. But 1,500 of it is ours. Again, $20 both ways in August would have saved us this $2,000, and we could have done a lot more interesting things. As you will see as my son will show you, the editor in chief, he will show you, we nailed. So we put in the AFC game basically nothing. Except a couple of teasers, which didn't go well. We collected data. I liked the under because of the weather, but a lot of people said, don't the weather doesn't affect it unless it's going to be a blizzard. Yeah, well, the blizzard showed up, so we got done on that one, but we didn't have much on it. It was like a couple $100. We had, as you guys know, we went 2-0 in the playoffs. For you guys, we leaned on Denver. We told you guys, we leaned Denver. We took the 5.5, 4.5, even 3.5. We told you Denver would still keep it close at home with their defense, and they covered. So congratulations there. But we had a small teaser with Denver and the over, because we didn't pay. We had so much riding on Denver making it into the final, the Super Bowl, that we didn't want anything on the game. We just wanted to watch the game and cheer for the outcome. Once Denver lost outright, and so we knew New England was going to be in it, we already had our hedge. I ran to the kiosk with the team, the wife, and we were looking over some stuff. And I don't know, call it premonition, call it, just knowing, because I do know the Seahawks better than the other 31 teams, because this is where I live. I am a fan. I follow a lot of the social media stuff. I follow a lot of the YouTube stuff, a lot of the locker room hawk stuff. I just thought it was going to be, I said, if they get into the red zone, and Jigba's going to be the go-to guy, but McVay, and the Rams, they're not. They're the toughest, stiffest competition that we faced in terms of intelligence, in terms of team just ability, athletics, everything. And I was like, what is a very unlikely but possible scenario to happen? And I looked at, because I put in a ticket for Rashid Shaheed to be the first score, and Darnold hit him, but he had to slow down for that pass up the right sideline, or he walks in for a touchdown, and $50 would have got us 1,800, because first score was 3,600 or 36-1, and so we put $50 on that. We missed it by an inch because of a shoestring tackle. We had then the other thing I thought of, which we nailed, and congratulations to a few of you that did get in on this with us. They called me. I called from Vegas. Was we had Jake Bobo. Don't ask me what I don't know. Part of it, we babysit a dog for my wife's really close friend, and his name is Jake. And we refer to him as Jakey Bobo, and he's a ginormous dog. He's 110-pound, huge pure white snow like lab, funny as hell. I don't know if it was just coincidence or what, but I looked at that before I even found the numbers. So I bet Bobo to score first, which didn't come to fruition, but there was an anytime touchdown at the kiosk. Now we were in Vegas at the Boyd Group, not at the MGM, where I have to bet here at the Tribals, and it was plus 2,800. So we plunked it down and we nailed it. And funny enough, it was on a second down, right, going into the half or whatever. Or no, it was after the turnover. But anyway, Darnold back to pass, and Jigba's covered, running backs covered, Bobo's flashing from left to right across the pylon for the field goal. And Darnold, the minute he let it rip, my wife, I was like, yes, because you throw anything, Bobo gets 6 catches a year, I swear to God, but you throw anything near that guy in the end zone, and he will go hands and make that catch, and he did. Congratulations to everyone that was on us with that. And again, thank you, Jake Bobo, because that was a nice come up. We cashed out almost $2,000 on that on a $50 bet. And the other one that we nailed was first score. Now, generally, you guys know there's multiple ways and so many first scores again. We took 3. We wanted the odds, so we didn't see Darnold. Him and Odd about would Darnold maybe run one in. I came to the conclusion probably not because of his oblique. So we avoided that. And Jigba is obvious, but the odds were so low. Now, with Kenny Walker, the odds were low. So really not one I normally would gravitate towards, but I'll tell you why we did it, and we nailed it. We went heavy on it as well. We went a couple of $100. The payoff wasn't huge. It was a few $100s. But you're cashing, and so that paid for everything else we put in and then some, and because Bobo came way later in the game. But here, the first score, and here's why. Because Charbonnet being out and Holani just being his backup, we knew that Kenny Walker, our canine, was going to get a massive amount of the carries and looks and be on the field for over 85 to 90% of and he has just been a different back in the playoffs. If you look at the PFF numbers, all the statistics, he is the number 1 rated running back in the league, in the playoffs, etc., etc. So anyway, long story short, congratulations to everyone that followed us, because we also had, as our official pick, we had both Seattle at the, we told you, we preferred Seattle at the money line because we knew it would be close, but we also took Seattle at minus 3.5 or 4.5, whatever you could get. We said, go ahead and take it. You should be fine. Now, to the one other bet that we made that lost, we actually had Seattle at minus. There's like a window, right? Like wins by 1 to 6, 7 to 12, 13 to 17 or 18, whatever it was. We had the 11 window. When they were up by 11, we were like, oh my God, we're going to cash on this as well. But Reek Woolen, as you may or may not know, depends on how well you watch the game and how much you want to remember, but Reek Woolen made an amazing play against Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua on the sideline there. I think it was against Puka, but then he just, rather than just get off the field and go to the sideline, he had to start chirping. And then he kept chirping. And then he kept going to the Rams sideline chirping. And Adams, the wide receiver, kind of tattled on him and flagged. And from a great shutdown play, and we were up 11 and going to get the ball, they get a first down with unsportsmanlike, and then Stafford, to compound measures and get in his head, went right after Reek, Puka Nacua, touchdown, falling on his back, hitting the pylon, and one play touchdown, and it became a 4-point game again, and it never moved off that 4 points. So you guys know from there how it ended. But anyway, so our analysis of the game, again, like we've talked about all year long, and we used the poker analogy, right? You can have pocket aces, pocket kings acts before you and shoves all in, perfect. You're going to snap call. Right scenario, wrong outcome, and it happens. That's why it's called gambling, and that's why we only do what you can afford to do. And we're adamant about, again, guys, it seems scripted sometimes, it seems rigged. It just is our best analysis of collecting data and really, really understanding what we're looking at. And as you know, the weeks go on, from week 1, we just get better, and stronger. And of course, so the AFC NFC Championship, for the record, we went 2-0 on the sides given here on YouTube, but to all of our insiders, and we're going to be expanding that for you guys next year, especially. But we nailed a bunch of props that really made people some nice coin. We missed 2, but by inches, the Shaheed being the first score and the Seahawks winning by 11. And I bring the Seahawks winning by 11 because our analysis of the Super Bowl is going to follow suit along those lines. Okay, so I've already gotten ahead of myself here. Let me start with the quote of the week, and this is attributed to Abraham Lincoln, who said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." You're not swinging an axe any harder. You're simply sharpening the blade. Courtesy of Matt Hasselbeck, who kind of former QB of the Seahawks in Super Bowl 40, who kind of succinctly revamped that saying. And so what it basically means is, the coaches are going to have these guys ready. McDonald's going to, and all I'm hearing all week long is how Vrabel is going to use all this media fodder, and that the New England doesn't stand the chance, and blah, 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 blah. Seahawks the better team, blah, blah, blah. And Vrabel is going to have New England chomping at the bit and ready. And I don't doubt that for a minute. I think, again, I picked Vrabel. I picked the New England Patriots to be one of the teams here. But I again, if you go back to our week by week, we have talked on more than 1 week. We have tried to explain to you guys what we feel and what we think are, in our opinion, tiers in the NFL, like in any sport. But in the NFL, they're very pronounced. And like right now, right this moment, knowing what we know to this moment, you'd have to agree that tier 1 absolutely are the Seahawks and the Rams. I actually was surprised, and I would put Houston right under there at tier 2 and a decimal point above New England if it wasn't for CJ Stroud and the meltdown he had and the inability he seems to have in big games to put it all together and just do enough. Stay a game manager. Don't turn the ball over. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands and the running backs, and let your defense do their work. Because New England, by all statistic measure, should have lost that game to Houston, but CJ turned it over more times than Drake May did. So, excuse me. Again, it's just one of those things. No disrespect towards New England at all. We think they are a 1 point, like a 1A. The Rams and the Seahawks are, if the Rams and the Seahawks played 10 times, I think it would be 5-5 or 6-4 in wins. I give a slight edge to Seahawks with the defense, and because I'm a homer for the Seahawks. But honestly, I mean, being objective, I think 5-5 or 6-4, either way with the 6-4. Either side could end up with the 6, and the other side would end up with the 4. But it's so tight. But just different dudes, just different level of dudes. Houston and New England are kind of the next level. I actually think that, Denver beating Buffalo really laid the groundwork. So if you've listened to Radio Row all week, you've listened to all the pundits, all the talking heads all week and stuff, there is quite a consensus, if you will, about everything just broke just right for New England. I mean, it really did. And it's not their fault, and it's nothing against them, because everything put in front of them, they took care of business as needed, as expected, and as they should. But that being said, I don't have the exact stats on the top of my head right now. I was not going to go in this direction, but I'm just touching on it, that I think 8 or 9 teams that they played ended up with OCs, DCs, and head coaches fired. The list of quarterbacks they faced are a who's who of no ones. Defenses up until the playoffs were non-existent. And even, when they played a good defense like the Chargers, who I don't think are quite at the level of the Seahawks, they were held to 13. And Drake May did not a lot in that game or in any of the playoffs. Forget the half a quarter or half a game the 2 quarters of snow blizzards and all that in Denver. Okay, we'll give you that no one should have could or should be able to play in that kind of weather. I'm talking about the first 2 quarters, and going backwards, the quarters, the 4 quarters against the Chargers, against Houston, and then the first 2 quarters against Denver. So our analysis of the game, and there's a lot of people right now, I'll tell you this too. So right now it's Thursday. There are still over 60-something% of the tickets on Seattle. Seattle is being a heavy public bet. Early in the week, everyone thought it was going to be the Joes and the Pros all on the same side. It was going to be all Seattle. Well, that's flipped. All the sharp money is now starting to roll in and come in on New England. There is more huge $1 million and bigger bets on New England money line and New England plus the points. And there's like only one, I think, on record anyway, $1 million bet on Seattle minus the 4 at one of the bigger casinos. So interesting there. But I'll also tell you guys really quick that fading the public on the Super Bowl does not apply. That you want to be fading the public week 1 through week 18 and throughout generally the playoffs even. But Super Bowl is the exception. Now, that being said, we will say that if you blindly bet the dog the last 10, you're like 8 wins and 2 losses. And I think the dogs winning outright are on a 5-0 winning streak right now or something. But these trends do make us take a look. They do have us consider some things. But at the same time, it's a one game scenario. It's a one and done. And what happened 20 years ago doesn't necessarily impact what's happening today. There's a lot of push and pull to this. So that's our job, right? To get you through all the muck and come out on the other side quick and easy and give us the pick and what you need to know and so forth and so on. Although I'm going to ramble for the next hour here and hope you guys are taking a shower or doing the dishes or mowing the lawn and giving us a listen. By the way, thank you so much all year long for tuning in. This was our first year. It was a great year. We did have two losing weeks. But for the rest of the time, we averaged out at a kind of a 3-2 every week winning week. We had a few 4-1s. We did have a 5-0 and an 8-0 week. Go back, watch the YouTube. It's all there for you guys. But the 5-0, 8-0 week was very nice, and we did start giving you guys some stuff like on that 8-0 week was like where we told you not so much a side or a total, which is what a lot of people tune into these things for. But we told you in that week, I'll never forget it, we really hammered home on taking Brock Bowers over a certain amount of receptions, and we told you to take the actual alt line because I think 6 was like the over-under in receptions. We told you to take 10. We told you to take it over 100 yards, and we told you to throw in a touchdown for good measure. And if you would have parlayed all that and did all these things and did what we said in that week, you made a killing, like $50 got you $5,000 kind of stuff. And that's another thing that we've done that we want to reiterate and strive to you guys that we're not just here like other talking heads, pundits, and handicappers telling you who to bet, side or total, and in a big game like this, a lot of props and stuff. There's a lot of people that are a lot better than us, and we spend the hours collecting all that data for you. What we are hoping that you're picking up on, and our niche that we're kind of trying to teach you, and we're so excited for next year, is not just who to bet, but how and why, and what you can do therefore to make a lot of money and make small bets like $5 and $10 turn into thousands. That's our goal. We're really excited for next year. I have a segment or a how do I put it? A system, if you will, of how to bet. A couple of systems. One where I can get you almost 30 to 40% more odds on your parlays. Parlays are a bad bet. In general, parlays are so hard to hit. The house loves when you're betting parlays, although we did so amazing this year in the sense that every parlay we put in every week, it was like a 6-teamer that hit 5, 7-teamer that hit 6, 8-teamer that hit 7. We would kept missing them by 1. But that's the point, right? It's so hard to nail those things. And so, going back to getting you better odds. So in general, like a 3-team parlay will get you 10 to 1. A 4-team parlay at the best will get you 20 to 1. We're going to show you a way next year where a 4-team parlay, can get you closer to 32 to 1. You just have to follow how we do it and be patient. And we're going to give you guys a system in where you're getting really great odds for the same thing. But it's just going to take you a couple of weekends longer to cash out, so to speak. And the other thing is, I'm calling it the Tamagotchi, which is like the egg. So there's an old, when we were kids, a digital game where you took care of the little Japanese egg and you kind of fed it. It was like a baby. You gave it a nap, you talked to it, you played with it, whatever, and you kept it alive, so to speak. We're going to do that, kind of taking the survivor mentality of all the contests in Vegas, where every week you need to pick a team and be a survivor to the end of the year to get paid this massive amount of money for a $1,000 or a $10,000 entry. We kind of took that premise and added the keeping the egg alive thing, and we're going to be unveiling a way that you can turn basically under $100 into thousands. You just got to follow what we're doing, and of course we're going to have to get a little bit lucky, and we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's, but we're really excited about those two systems and unveilings in August and September when the season starts. We are also going to this year again unveil and do a deeper, extensive exacta to unveil to you guys all the different combinations of who to pick, what to pick, and we're taking into account. So not everybody has the same bankroll. We know that, and some people are blessed and have extra money. Some people are really tight. We're going to take the approach for the exacta that you have about $300 or less, basically about to start or play with to approach our exacta execution. And like this year, hopefully, we invested less than $200 at the beginning in August, and we got to where we had the leverage to eventually. So with this Super Bowl coming up, we are going to walk away with either $3,000 or $5,000. We could have walked away with a little bit more. We could have hedged a little bit more last week when we were in Vegas, but we decided to take the Jake Bobo bet, the K9 first score bet, and a few other things. So we've already made $2 or $3 grand on those side action bets. So we cashed out that way, and we feel, with Seahawks probably going to win this Super Bowl, we'll win another $5 on our ticket. So we didn't get to the $22,000 or $26,000 mark that we could have with Denver, but we are going to end up cashing out of about $8,000 to $9,000 on a $200 investment. So there you go. That basically kind of wraps it all up as to what we're looking at going forward. Anyway, so again, like we said, we weren't here last week because I was out with the bad flu. Lots of news, lots of new coaches. That opens up a bunch of stuff for futures. We're going to have to watch closely. The next big thing to happen after the Super Bowl, obviously, as you guys know, is the draft. So, like, for instance, I just touch on this real quick. So, like, the Raiders. They're rumored to Kubiak, the OC for Seattle, is probably going to be their new head coach. He's probably going to put a very good team around him. He's comes from the McDonald now coaching tree. Brady is part owner, so he'll have a handprint in there. We know the ownership hasn't been the best, but they do back their GMs and coaches. So we think the ownership won't be like a dumpster fire problem like the Jets are. They're they're a lock, as far as I can tell, to take Mendoza as the first overall pick and the first pick in the first round in the draft in April. And so they'll have their quarterback, Brock Bowers at tight end, Genty at running back. They've got some pieces on the O-line. I think both of their guards, and I think it's a right tackle that's pretty solid. They've got a lot of draft capital. They could move back a little bit and turn 7 or 9 picks into 10 or 12. And then, of course, free agency. They can attack free agency. They've still got Max Crosby, which they can trade away and use him as a building block to build, get rid of him to a contender, do him a service, do him righteous, and at the same time, build off of that even more. Oh my God. By the way, Raiders, give the Seahawks a call and have Max, trade Max over to the Seahawks. We'd love to have him. But there's so much. So this year, I think, has now shown people and shown the league. And that's why, as much of people might not be that this is the most thrilling Super Bowl with the Seahawks and the Patriots, that not a lot of people had them in this spot, but we did. But a lot of people didn't have them in this spot. I think it sends a message that, especially like with Vrabel, there were 4 wins last year. A 1 year, he's his first year head coach there. 1 year turnaround. Get the right quarterback. I think, I put a lot of time into listening to Colin Cowherd. He's a fellow Northwestern who has a Fox sports talk show, and he is so knowledgeable, and he is so really smart guy. Maybe he's not everybody's taste. I love him. But I think that his sidekick or his town fool J-Mac makes things hilarious, because J-Mac is one of those millennials that just da 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 da. He's one of the people that thinks LaFraud is the greatest basketball player to ever live over Michael Jordan, and gives you his reasons why. He's that kid. But anyway, Colin basically came up with a thing I heard him say early this year, and I'll never forget. It really resonated with me. That in the NFL, head coach, quarterback, left tackle. Then from there, center, GM, and GM or ownership. Sometimes it goes hand in hand, whatever. But GM or ownership, and then then piece after piece after piece. But those three, the coach, the quarterback, and a left tackle to protect that quarterback. And I guess in a lefty's case like Tua, it would be the right tackle. But when he said that, it really, and I was like, Patriots and Seahawks, especially with Zabel, right? Their first round pick this year. I mean, he's been everything they'd hoped at the left side. So, and Darnold is just, one of those guys. Everybody that I hear about, I don't know the man personally, but everybody I've ever heard talk about him, ex-players, ex-teammates, coaches, reporters, personnel in the league, whatever. Just a good guy, a great guy, a nice guy, a humble guy, and all those things. Easy to work with, easy to coach. So we just kind of, again, I think this sends a message to every team, including the Jets, that anything is possible if you just do a few of the right things and put the right pieces in place. So it's really exciting, I think, going forward. I mean, again, the reason why NFL is the number one watch sport, over the NBA, that nobody even cares anymore, so to speak, and baseball that's made a major comeback from what it used to be unwatchable before to now, people are pretty into it. The NBA looks like they're learning the lesson and maybe turning the page. But until they completely do, the NFL is just dominant, right? Anyway, so we've got coaches everywhere. So that another reason for not just exactas, but parlays for I read a thing that if someone would have picked this year's 8 division winners, which that would have been a pretty amazing feat. I don't think it was even payable because I think the odds were something like $100 bet would have been like $700 million. Like that, again, don't quote me on it. I read it somewhere in passing, like it was either an ESPN article or a Fox News article or a Google, something to do with sports. It popped up on my feed, and I was reading it that because it was so unlikely, especially when it came, the Seahawks were the bottom of the West barrel. They were scheduled to finish beneath Arizona, and the Patriots were scheduled to finish third, I think, above just the Jets. And a lot of people did not have Chicago. We did. A lot of people did not have Houston, especially after the 3-loss start. We did not. Houston we missed. We caught on early though, and we offset it early at the kiosk with when the odds were still good for them to be Super Bowl winners. So they didn't have to meet anybody in the Super Bowl, but we had a hedge on them because we had missed them early on in our exactas. So we had covered Houston and Jacksonville. We did not have Jacksonville, but we bet them. And again, these bets were, costed us another $100 mid-season to catch up to where at least if, they were the ones who ended up then being where we are now, it wouldn't have been the Denver-Seattle ticket that we want with $22,000 or $26,000, but it would have been a nice $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 depending on how much you bet and when you caught it, which we did early in the season. We saw Jacksonville starting to kind of catch a little roll in momentum. We were regretting it a little bit in the international game against the Rams, but that seemed to be a one-off. They really showed their stuff. And we kind of knew or had our confirmation when they went up to Denver and beat Denver pretty soundly. So there's that. Excuse me. Still getting over this flu. Sorry, guys. All right. Now, on top of everything else, we've got Belichick shunned from the Hall of Fame. News has come out that a lot of it had to do with two different schools of thought that kind of perfect stormed it. One thing was that a lot of the voters, only 50 voters. So a lot of the voters have affinities or are pulling for, if you will, older guys like Kenny Anderson, the QB from Cincinnati, or Roger Craig, the high knee running back from San Francisco from back in the day. This is kind of their last chance. Now, a lot of people who are cold will tell you, well, if they didn't get in by now, then maybe they don't deserve to get in, or maybe that's trying to tell you something. I get that. But at the same time, being humans, being compassionate, all that, some of the old timers, some writers and stuff have an affinity for them, are pulling for the old guards, whatever. And so the approach was, well, it's Bill Belichick. He's going to get in. And so I'll throw my one vote at Roger Craig and try to help him out a little bit. Maybe some miracle he'll get in. That was kind of the school of thought by some of the voters. And apparently, more than one person did that. And so it costed Belichick because everybody kind of had the idea like, well, everybody's going to vote for Bill, so let me throw my one vote at somebody that might need a little more. Now, I agree. I'm not here arguing the case. I get that's not the way you should approach it as a voter. I agree with that argument. That's not the way that this is. It should be approached, but by design, that's what they're getting. So they overcorrected from before, where they were like, okay, it's too easy to get in, or there was this or that, and then they made it where the coaches could get in 1 year, where Tom Brady still got to wait, and arguably of the three, the owner, the coach, and the quarterback, I think if you could only pick one, I think that you get a majority of people to say, well, Tom Brady made it all go, right? So anyway, there's a lot of statistics right now coming out with this Belichick not making the Hall of Fame, that if you take Brady out of the equation, if you take him out as a starter and look at all of Belichick's other coaching, that when Brady was either injured or not as his starter, he had a very bad winning percentage. He was well below like 40% or something. So kind of one of those things, for a long time, after about the fourth or fifth Super Bowl, the bar argument became who needs who more? Who was more important? Was it did Brady really need Belichick, or did Belichick really need Brady? And now we've kind of found out. I think that that you could argue this still. I think that there's still a small debate, but I fall on the side of that. Clearly, Brady was another coach on the field, and Brady, his IQ, intelligence, and football Rolodex is just off the charts. And that clearly, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I give all deference to Brady, that Brady made the whole thing go, and Belichick was very lucky to have and find, and the way it all worked out too, right? Bledsoe getting hurt, Brady stepping in. There was also rumors, and I read an article that Belichick was about to maybe be let go, and then the whole Brady thing happened, and we all know where it went from there. The dynasty was born. So again, I'm not taking sides here. I'm not trying to piss anybody off. I'm just reporting the news, and what I will say is, my small 2 cents thrown in there. But anyway. So that was all the goings on that has been happening. And again, like we said, I'm not even going to touch on all the different coaches. We know that the ex-Cleveland coach is now in Atlanta. You've got Harbaugh, not Jim, but John in the Giants. They could be a big turnaround team next year because you've got now the coach. I think Jackson Dart is a legit starter in this league if he can stay healthy and somebody can teach him to run out of bounds, slide, and don't take on linebackers. And the perfect guy is there to do that. Russell for years stayed healthy, running, doing out, little spin outs and roll outs and run pass options and so forth. And he never really missed time. He had that ankle injury one year, but never really missed time because he always slid, always ran out of bounds, and always didn't take the abuse. And so, Russell, maybe you can teach Jackson there while you're still in New York a few things. Anyway, and again, to reiterate real quick, we went 2-0 in the championships with the extras on Jake Bobo catching a touchdown anytime, and Kenny Walker, our guy K9, being the first touchdown score in the NFC Championship. Exotics, I want to touch on a little bit here. We've got a lot to go into. But it's almost like a test. Like I tell my kids when they used to be in high school that, sometimes when you're taking a test, sometimes the answer's in the question. In that sense, with the exotics or the player props, the game props, what is the book or what is the house trying to tell us if you're reading between the lines? And so just from what we're reading off of the odds, where the money's flowing and all that other kind of good stuff, we have a few opinions about that. We will be giving you guys a pick in the game as well. I'll tell you right now, we don't really have a strong feeling on the over-under, and I'll explain why. But we do have a side and some of the handicappers, they call it a ladder, where not only am I going to give you a side, but I'm going to give you extras to that side where you can then ladder it, and maybe if we're right, you can win some more. So we'll get to that in a little bit here. I do want to talk about plus 240 for a defensive anytime touchdown. Now, I don't like the odds. So a lot of this stuff, you're kind of you're prisoner to the house because you want to bet, they're the ones taking your bet. So the odds are the odds, and there comes a point you're not going to overjuice it, right? I'm not going to take Seattle minus the 4.5, say, but juice it to minus 170. You know what I mean? Like I can go to a house here, there, everywhere, whatever, and get it at minus 110. So why am I going to pay the extra $60 vig? Now, if that's the only game in town, it's the only place you can legally put a bet in, and you live in some state where you gotta go to an indie casino and they've got you, and it's that or nothing. I don't know what to tell you. I wouldn't do it. I would just stay away. I bitterly bide my time and hope that DraftKings and FanDuel hurry up and get to my state, like I'm hoping for now in Washington. But again, it's one of those things. So everything I give you today is basically we kind of glossed over real quick and looked and found out that the odds are good enough. We like to bet more than we don't like paying whatever vig, juice, odds, etc. Of course, as far as the 4-1, 5-1, 10-1, whatever it is, of course, the more we can get, the bet. So shop around. You always want the best line possible. One of the smart bets I think are like the point spread. Smart bets are outlines. So I'll go ahead and tell you right now. Let's go. We're not going to keep you in suspense any longer. We think here's what, after collecting all the data, and believe me, there right now is a lot of sharp bets rolling in on New England right now as of Thursday night. What we think and what our analysis of the game, and we've run our model, we've checked with the smarter than everyone else person we follow's model, and she is generally not against the spread very very hot, but straight up she's incredible. And so winning the game is the first thing that we look at. Who's going to win the game? Worry about if the cover comes afterwards, but we want to know who's going to win the game. And so we think that if this game was played 10 times, and right now I am aware of Nick Eamon-Wari, number 3, safety for the Seattle Seahawks, did roll his ankle in practice on Wednesday. We are aware of that. We also think that right now, based on all the information we're collecting and all the reports coming out of the Super Bowl and what we see with our own eyes and what we know in McDonald's approach and so forth and so on, we don't think that it's a line-moving event. Yes, if he does not play, we think that's a line-moving event of at least 1 or 2 points. 1. 2, we think that it absolutely is going to make it much harder for the Seahawks to win this game without him, and that New England could keep it quite close. We don't think it's going to stop him from playing. It may hamper him a little in specific plays, maybe 3 or 4 plays, but we also know that there's a lot of strength in the secondary, and no one rallies to the ball like the Seahawks. So Eamon-Wari playing to us at 80% is still better than a lot of other teams is 100% won. 2, so what I was saying, we think that, so if this game was played 10 times, we think that the Seahawks win and cover 8 of them. We think that we do see that there could be a path where New England plays a really critically perfect game. The defense, Vrabel has them all jacked up over all the rat poison and fodder from the talking heads in the media about they don't stand the chance, which I wish people would shut up, because they absolutely stand the chance. They're here. But we just think our eyes tell us what we see, and what we see is 2 different tiers of team. One, like, we thought that the Super Bowl was the Rams and the Seahawks, and we thought that game could have went either way, although thanks to Woolen, there should have been an 11-point cushion and kind of more of an easier out at the end there. But irregardless, what happens, and the Seahawks bucked up and got it done and closed it out. So we think that they're just more battle tested, if you will. We do like the alt lines. So our official pick is the Seahawks. Remember what we've taught you guys. If it's 4.5, we know you can buy 2 points. So we know you can get it down to under the key number of 3. So officially, we're saying Seahawks minus 2.5. If you've got the purse, if you've got the bankroll, we love Seahawks at the money line. That's what we have already with the 5,000. The Seahawks money line, we love the Seahawks at minus 2.5. We would take the Seahawks at minus 4.5 because here's the surprise, or here's the extra. The alt lines, and I don't have them in front of me. I looked them up real quick, so we'll tell you guys to look them up yourselves. We think that the Seahawks will easily win this game by 11 to 17 point, that window. We're going to go down either Friday night or Saturday, and we are going to head to the BetMGM kiosk, and we are going to look for the alt lines of Seahawks giving 11, Seahawks given, there's they have this like exact numbers, like you can give like Seahawks minus 11 is like plus 280, say, right? Or whatever. Of course, I would love Seahawks at like 4-1, but then I think you have to lay the 14.5. That's the hook, right? That's where they're going to get you. But we think that there's the window ones where like you got to get the exact window, which is so the number ones like minus 11. So anything 11 and more, you win. The window ones have to be between that number and that number. So we are going to bet probably 2 windows to cover 11 to like 19 or 21. If we can get 2 windows to cover that 11 to 21, we think that that's possible. One. And we think that both of those pay at least 4-1 or better. So we like those 2 windows. Then as a kind of shits and giggles, kind of like history repeats itself, weird things happen in this game, etc., etc. We have a bunch here to go over because we think that there's going to our approach, or what we think is going to happen in this game and how McDonald's going to approach it is going to leave a lot to the narrative and what we're trying to bet or cover. We think that a good bet is so let me just say, before the ankle roll, one of the bets I was going to tell you guys that we would put down is, hey, $5 on Imanwari to be MVP, because at plus 10,000, $5 would get you 500. I believe, at plus 10,000. So that would have been a good bet. We've crossed that off because of his ankle, obviously. Holani for $5 because he's going to be the backup running back to Kenny Walker. Now, the only possible way we see that playing out is coaches will sometimes go with, if Holani starts finding holes and going crazy, well, it would be twofold, right? They're not going to pull him out of the game when he's ripping off 8-yard, 10-yard, 12-yard catches and runs and scoring one or maybe his second touchdown. And that would play into, well, then he probably would be MVP as well. So, again, this is not a huge bet. This is coffee money. This is $5. It is literally plus 22,500, which is more than double the Nick and Minori. So $5 should get you like $1,250. That's what we're doing it. So, and let me get back to that in a little bit. But our game script, mine personally, and I've kind of sold the team on this, and we've looked at it. We think this is where we're going to give New England a lot of credit. We think that Vrabel's a good coach. We think that Josh McDaniel is a great OC and is going to figure out, how to move the ball and so forth and so on. We just think the Seahawks defense is just going to be suffocating and overwhelming. But if that is true, if what we think is going to happen happens, one, the defense is just going to be dominating and suffocating. And two, it will then call on Kenny Walker to run the ball, run the clock, and Darnold just needs to manage the whole thing. And he doesn't have to be anybody's hero or Superman today, Sunday. And so there has not been a running back MVP in the Super Bowl since Terrell Davis, and prior to that, he's like the only one I think in that 20 or 30 year span. What I think I've convinced the team because I'm a salesman. What I think is going to happen though in this game is very possible is the defense is just playing lights out, and so Kenny Walker may get 20 plus carries. So I generally wouldn't do it for the low odds because again, all the experts script seems to think likely is that JSN and Jigba is a high likelihood to be MVP, and if not him, Darnold. Now Darnold, I hate it because the odds are not even 2-1. So $100 doesn't even get you 200. Too much of a risk, not enough of a reward. I barely like Jackson Smith. Again, if your wallet, if your bankroll can afford it, and you've got the extra scratch, okay, you know, $10 or $100 on JSN to win MVP. That's great. That pays for a lot of stuff. If you put 10 on that and that comes through, but you spend a total of $100 on everything to make it all interesting and fun, that one hit covers over half your bets, right? So I see why that is worth making. Where I would do, you know, your bankroll. Where I do, if you can afford, you know, if you have $100, $10 on JSN to be MVP. If you have $1,000, you know, as much as $50 to $100 on JSN to win MVP. But that's like, again, I don't love that bet. It's just, I'm letting you know the data collected. 80% of the experts who they've been really good all year, they got us where we are, and we collect all this data. They're the 80% that thinks that's what's likely to happen. It's going to be him or Darnold, right? But again, that's a very low priority bet. I'm just letting you know because we let you know about all the data. I think that it's a better bet, even though I don't love the odds, but I think a more likely bet and a better bet is Kenny Walker, K9, the running back, to get MVP. I love it at plus. Well, I don't love it. I would love it better at like 1,500. But I love the bet, and it's at plus 850. So we would definitely take that. Like if I had $1,000 bankroll, I would be putting down $100 on that bet to win 850. The one I really like, that because it covers so many bases, is Rashid Shaheed. I've seen that some people can get it at plus 4,500 or 45-1. I absolutely would put $50 on that to win 2250. In that, he's the punt returner, the kick returner, and the deep threat speed guy. So all you would need is one or two things to maybe happen, and that resonates, and there's not a lot of else to be said about what happened in the game. And so Shaheed running back a special teams kick for a touchdown, or even to get a massive run back down to inside the red zone where they convert on the next play, whatever. And then if he caught, you know, 3 or 4 big plays or one ginormous 80-yard touchdown pass, something of that kind of magnitude, that could lock him down for MVP. And at 45-1, we kind of like that. Again, now this is for the guys who have the extra scratch, the extra money to burn. All of these players are all 100-1 or more for the most part, which is why we're telling you my approach would be at $5 a piece, coffee money a piece. You go after all these guys because all you need is one of them to come through, and you more than like 10x your money. DeMarcus Lawrence, he has a knack of strip sacking, recovering fumbles, and running them in for touchdowns. I can think of off the top of my head, he did it twice in one game against Arizona, and I know he did it in another game. I think he did it 4 times total, but I'd have to double check that fact. But I know he did it 3. The guy he's lean, he's quick, he smells blood, and he just has a knack. So at plus 10,000, I don't hate it for $5. But here's a whole list of all these guys, and again, not all of them are defensive. AJ Barner, tight end, he's the tush push guy. He'd be the guy that maybe if McDonald has some kind of a gadget play or something, he might be the guy because he's already under center doing a tush push, blah blah blah. So Barner, I don't like that one. I don't love that one, but again, you want to cover the bases, so the odds are plus 10,000, so you got to throw him in there. Byron Murphy. So write all these down, and I would approach these by going all $5 a piece for shits and giggles and praying one comes true. Again, this is for people who can afford it, and it's coffee money. And I honestly think there's a good chance one of these hit. Well, otherwise, we wouldn't throw it out to you guys. But we really do think that there's a good chance. So realistically, again, Kenny Walker, at plus 850, and Rashid at plus 4,500. We would do Kenny for $100 or $10. We'd do Rashid for $50 or $5, depending on your bankroll. I'm gonna go ahead and do JSN for $50 just so I don't completely miss that one, but I don't like that one. I don't like the odds. Now here's the list of all the long shots, and mind you, there are 3 New England Patriots in this list. Because of the odds and because shit happens, we're covering those 3 guys because likelihoods, if something were to happen, we would say that obviously it would probably be Drake May, right? But these guys would be key and instrumental. But anyway, here's the whole list. AJ Barner, Byron Murphy, defense, obviously, Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, Ernest Jones, Uchenna Nwosu, Tyreek Woolen, Jake Bobo. Now he's for MVP now, not for anytime touchdown. These guys are all for MVPs. Boye Mafe, J Love, cornerback or safety. Arroyo, the other tight end. Jay Reed, D Hall, D Thomas, Salbert, Velus Jones, Cam Akers, the ex-Rams running back, and Job, the other defensive back. And then the 3 Patriots would be Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, and Travion Henderson. We also like, if I'm bouncing back and forth, guys, I apologize, but I'm just trying to give you guys all the bets. So those guys would all be for MVP. If you've got the bankroll and you can afford to do $5 each, just for fun. Will there be a scoreless quarter? I like the yes. I think that there is a very strong possibility there is one scoreless quarter, which would either be the first quarter or possibly the second quarter. And maybe even depending on game script and how it goes, it could be the last quarter in a couple of different storylines. But I won't go through those. But will there be a scoreless quarter? It is. I don't know what the odds are. When I looked at it, it was like plus 380. So it was very much in plus. The house wants you'd be on the side of the house, because if you voted no, you were in minus. You had to lay money, lay vig and juice to get that no. So the yes was the house side. We like that bet. I personally, this is a Joe personal, not the team, just me, but I wanted to throw it out there for you guys. No score in the final 2 minutes of the first half. No score in the final 2 minutes of the first half is plus 320. Now, excuse me, I get it. Somebody scores or gets the ball, and from the 2-minute warning, you go into the 2-minute drill. I get that. Both defenses are the best or top 5 defenses in the league right now playing in this game, right? The Patriots defense is actually being kind of overlooked or not talked about a lot, but they are a top defense. And 1, 2, coaching on both sides are top tier, top echelon. So I think that, and I get it, a field goal kills you, but I truly think that depending on the way it unfolds, I can envision where one side or the other, but let's say because I'm rooting for the Seahawks and we bet the Seahawks, so I might as well use the Seahawks as the example. If Seahawks are up by 17 to 21 or 24 even going into the half, and they get the ball with say like a minute and 10 left, like okay, so they force the Patriots to punt and they get the ball, but in their own inside their own 20, and they kind of fair catch it and they get it with a minute and 10 and say one timeout left. I could envision where McDonald might test the water and try one of his better runs and say to himself, if Kenny Walker gets 10 yards or more on this one run, or opens the drive with a positive, a big positive, even 6 yards, but just the way the run goes or whatever, I can see him then pinning his ears back and saying, okay, let's try and move it forward. Let's try and get 3 or 7 out of this. But if the Patriots kind of stonewall him and he doesn't get 1 or 2 yards on the first down, I could see McDonald taking what he's got at that point, a big lead, and being happy to go into the locker room in the halftime, the long extended halftime, by the way, and taking a lead into it and saying, screw it, I'm not going to put, because remember the Josh Allen Denver game where they had a few, again, that was an extreme example of not thinking, but I think that's obviously fresh in Vrabel's mind because that's who they had to play Denver next, so I'm sure he watched that tape quite closely. But McDonald, being the defensive minded coach he is, and everything, I don't doubt that he's also seen that tape, and really it's kind of giving them both some food for thought that sometimes just let sleeping dogs lie. And this is more of a gut feeling. I get it, and I get that that's not what you're tuning in for. You want data, you want facts, you want evidence, and all that stuff. I'm just telling you that I'd be cut. And again, if this was a minus situation, I wouldn't be bringing it up. But it's plus 320. It's better than 3-1 on your money. So at plus 320, I kind of like the bet. Okay, will there be a safety at any point in the game? If you can get it at plus the 1,200 or higher, we like that bet. If, again, your bankroll can afford it, it's one of those bets you got to kind of bet at least 25 to 50 bucks on it, though. We would be putting 50 bucks on it. I'll tell you that there is one else that I do like. Again, game script, because I do like Kenny Walker to maybe win the MVP. So with that game script, it would be any player with 100 plus rushing yards. You're at plus 180, so almost 2-1. And so that would kind of play into the MVP thing. So I guess I would kind of break up the bet and say, okay, I'll put 50 on any player getting 100 yards. Now, you might end up with a backdoor mistake, being one of the Patriots guys do it, and maybe Seahawks get upset, but the bet still pays no matter, because it says any player, right? So kind of a little extra insurance or a little extra odds in your favor from that aspect. But we would break it up and put 50 on that, so you'd get almost a buck. You get 90 bucks for the 50, and then we'd put 50 on the MVP, which would get you 425, because it's kind of one and the same is what we're kind of thinking. But the 100-yard thing might be a little bit more of an easy road than actually getting the MVP. There's a few hot bets that I got down here for you guys as well. I wanted to make sure we covered, which is 4th down conversions over or under 2.5. A lot of the experts have pointed out that Seattle does not go for it. So you're basically betting on the Patriots over 3. So can they get a 4th down conversion 3 times or more? We don't think so. We like the no in that aspect. So just one of those things. We're not betting it. We're just letting you know we like no on that one. Over or under 6.5 kickoffs return. We're leaning on the under. Michael Dixon for the Hawks is a All-Pro Pro Bowl kicker who really puts it up for a lot of hang time. He really can stick the ball almost down to the yard line where he wants it, and he really pins them inside the 10 a lot and forces a lot of fair catches. So you're not going to get any returns that we can see. As far as kickoffs go, we don't think that either side wants to put special teams at risk and kicking it to Shaheed or even the cornerback for the Patriots. His name escapes me right now, but they both are dangerous. You don't want a momentum swing, something like so. I think that the coaches have both told their kickers, Myers or the New England kicker, just kick it deep, end zone, out of bounds, and make them start at the 30. That's fine, the 30 or the 35, whatever it is. But even at the 40, I think they would, which that's a mistake. That means the ball went out of bounds or something. They won't be happy about it. But they'd rather that than putting the risk of a return on. And both teams, here's a line that when we heard this one, we thought, wow, okay, that's a good bet. We like that one because this is a heavyweight fight, and they're both going to come out and they're going to be kind of feeling each other out and really throw some jabs and kind of really try not to make the first mistake, if you will. So both teams, New England and the Hawks, to punt on their first drive. Now, when we were told this, when we heard this particular prop, that the guy quoted the line at plus 330. If the line is at plus 3 or higher, we like it. At 280, we don't love it. I'd probably still bet it. Anything under 250 or less, I don't like it anymore because I don't want to put at risk 100 to only win 2 or 2.5. I want at least 3 to 1 on my money on a bet like that, even though I think it's a very good bet. All right. So anyway, like we said before, we touched on it. Fading the public does not necessarily apply to the Super Bowl. A couple of examples that a lot of you old timers and old schoolers will remember: San Francisco, the 49ers versus the San Diego Superchargers. I think the line in that Super Bowl got up to 21, if I'm not mistaken. Jerry Rice went ham, and I know that Steve Young, it was a blowout. It was better than it was bigger than the 19 point spread that I took. No, we tried to do a middle in Vegas, but we had gotten San Diego plus 19 or 21 or whatever it was, and San Francisco absolutely covered it. All three of the 90s Dallas teams, 2 against Buffalo and 1 against Pittsburgh, which was funny. That Pittsburgh game, at that time, I didn't have this going on or anything, but I was a pretty solid handicapper and better in my youth. And I'll tell you that, not for nothing, but I actually had that game. I took Pittsburgh at the half and Dallas at the game, kind of being a contrarian to fading the public, if you will, in that one on the halftime. So I figured, Dallas is going to win this game, but maybe, there'll be some shenanigans, whatever goes on. But I'll tell you that Pittsburgh drove the field, and if I remember correctly, they kicked the field goal right before the half, which made the cover. So that was interesting because, again, you don't generally want to take the dog at the half and the favorite at the game, or the favorite at the half and the dog at the game. You kind of want to root one way and just kind of have it run away that way, Then there's Super Bowl 40, Seattle-Pittsburgh, where the officials shit the bed and juiced the outcome. Big Ben, to the point, in the NFL had the lowest QB rating in history and won that game to that point in history. The pass interference on the offense that took away a TD from the Seahawks, and the narrative about Jerome Bettis, the bus, retiring in Detroit, being his last game, and blah, where he came from, and blah blah blah, and in Detroit, and Cowher finally getting his win, because Holmgren, although he was one of the great coaches, he had already got his win in Green Bay, so it was a Cowher's turn. I don't think this stuff is scripted, but I've read some articles that the officials in that game, one official kind of came clean and basically said that they juiced the game a little bit in that Super Bowl with that call, that pass interference call. I'm just repeating what I read in an article somewhere. So again, it's not my statement of fact, but it was something I read and I found it interesting. Some of the other bets in this the expert pundits like, I will tell you right now, we don't like it as much, but we give you guys all the data. Hunter Henry over 38.5 yards. I think they said you can get it as low as minus 113, but Hunter Henry over 38.5 total yards for his catches. Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions at about the same price. We do like that one. We think that win, lose, or blowout, Hunter Henry will get 4 catches, 4 receptions, because a lot of what the Seahawks defense does is funnel and kind of leave the tight end as their last guy they're not covering or whatever. Hunter Henry over 20 plus yards is plus 115. That's one catch. So I should say Hunter Henry's over or under longest catch of 20 plus yards is plus 115. They like that one. I don't particularly like that one. Shaheed, I do like over a 30-yard reception at plus 430 or higher. I like that one because if Shaheed catches one, it's probably going to be longer than 30 yards. And at plus 430, it's a one play, one hit, and boom, and you're cashing that irregardless. We love that bet. What you can afford to do on that one, whether it's 20, 25, 50, or 100. Any lineman to catch a TD. Any lineman, and I don't think it's catch. I think it's any lineman get a TD. So a run would count, I believe. But any lineman TD is at plus 2,500. Now on that one, I would think that you're not really going to get it from the Seahawks side of things. I would think that if it were to happen, it would be the game's still close. Seahawks might be up 10-3 or 17-3 or 17-7, and Patriots get down to in the red zone, get inside the 5 or something, and they do a tackle eligible and run kind of one of those plays where the tackle kind of gets lost in the muck after blocking at like a tight end, and because Vrabel, mind you, caught a touchdown pass as a defensive player. They put him in an offense, and he kind of did just that. He kind of, if I remember correctly, I think he lined up at tight end. But again, it's one of those things. History repeats itself in these funky games and these big games. And so any lineman TD, even though we think that only half of them are going to be trying for it, we think that there is. I wish it was 35-1, but plus 2,500 is kind of a floor for me with that one, and I said, okay, I'll take that one. There's also parlay builders, anytime TDs, and I would say or anytime TDs. There's parlays. They're one of the ones I like, and again, I would couple this with one or two other things. But Barner, AJ Barner, because he's the tush push guy inside of the one, and believe it or not, guys, the shortest touchdown being over or under 1.5 yards. Over 1.5, you're plus money. Under 1.5, or so from a 1 yarder in, you're actually minus 140. What does that tell you? because I didn't really think about it until they explained it all. But what happens is any end zone defensive pass interference or holding, there's a lot of red zone penalties that could get you down to that 1 yard line. Not to mention, how many times have you seen somebody catch it and run and get tackled where their knees down at the 1, or they get caught at the 1, or it just happens so much that it's actually to take the 1 or less is you're minus the money. I don't like that bet, but I would say that again, that's where I think Barner comes into play, along with just being a capable tight end and a pass catching tight end, and Sam Darnold goes to him. So we do a parlay like with the Barner anytime touchdown, Walker anytime touchdown, and say Rashid Shaheed to have over 2.5 yards rushing. I think that's the floor for that bet is 2.5, because they maybe try to have him do an end around or anything that's a backwards pass, kind of a bubble screen to him where they're trying to get him out on the wing and run straight up. All he's got to do is get 3 yards and you got that covered. And so that one we like. Again, play with some of these parlays and whatever. But again, the laddering, we are going to be betting with all the money we have already riding on a Seahawks win outcome. We think that this is just 2 different tiers. We like the Seahawks to be pulling away in the end, and we think the Seahawks are going to win this game if Reek Woolen doesn't shoot his mouth off at the bench and start talking trash again. We think 11-21. That is we think that you can get 2 windows that cover that, and it's probably like plus 550 and plus 700, something in that range. So you're more than covered on the odds there. And a long shot, a real long shot, and again, I'd like it at around 10-1 or more, is history repeating itself, where the last time Seahawks dominated defensively in a Super Bowl, score was 43-8 against Denver, the highest scoring offensive team in the NFL history at that window, in that point in time in history, and we won by 35. Find the line given 31 or more. I've seen it higher than 10-1. Again, if you've got the extra scratch and you can afford 100 or more, I like that bet. So anyway, that's it for. And for the total, the reason we don't like the total in this one, a lot of sharps are taken under. So you first of all should wait, because the general public Super Bowls always bet the over. It's at 45 and a half right now. It's destined to go to 46 or 47 by game time. But a lot of sharps came in early and bet the under. What we could actually see a blowout, but be it an under, like the San Francisco playoff game, but it still kind of went over because you ended up 40-something-6. And that's kind of what we kind of foresee. That or the 43-8, so winning by 35. But we could totally see staying under 45 being a 35-7. And that would just totally suck for anybody to bet the over, being so close. And you don't get that last backdoor meaningless touchdown, especially if it's 28 or 35 or whatever to 3 or 6 or 9, but the defense has given up field goals but no touchdowns. Because when it comes to a fourth quarter, these guys are playing for legendary status and historic status and legacy stuff. And if they've got a chance to be, one of the only teams in history to not surrender a touchdown, come on, these guys are going to fight for it. They're young, they're hungry, they're fast, they're long, they're everything. And so I personally like the over because I just want to bet on just the Seahawks rolling. But I could also understand how the Patriots might get a touchdown or two even in a blowout. What I don't like is that both sides' defenses are so good that it really could be kind of a low-scoring blowout of 24-3. And so, it way under, but with 8 minutes to go in the game, they're just running out the clock. You know what I mean? So, again, that's why we are not on we figured there's so many props and so many long shots where you can really get some good odds and some good return on your investment and so forth. We've given you guys some ideas. We've told you what we think. We definitely told you we like Seattle and in a blowout and to ladder it up. And we will be back after this, the Super Bowl. We will have a wrap up next week at some point and go over the game for you guys, obviously. And then we're going to take a little 3-week break or so, 3-4 week break to get our ducks in a row and to get everything ready to approach the draft there in Pittsburgh. The draft is going to be in Pittsburgh this year, and we're going to get you guys ready for all of the pre-draft stuff, the draft stuff, ways to make money in betting futures and stuff, even through the draft. And also, we're going to have some parlays for you guys on some division winners because, man, that 8 division winner would have got you $700 million. We got to get in on a little bit of that. And also, we are going to start preparing you guys for the exacta for the kickoff next year. And remember, with the exactas, it is also fluid because let's take a team, like right off the top of my head, let's take a team like Cincinnati. Historically, we know they slow starts. We hope that this year they try something different. But let's say for a moment that we're right on our analysis, but they don't break the bad habit, and they start out 1-2 or 0-2 or 1-2 and then 2-2, but have 2 losses in their first 3 games. That drops their Super Bowl exacta odds tremendously, right? But if, like Houston this year, who had 3 losses, if we still believe our analysis is right and they just, bad habits, bad luck, bad breaks, whatever, not because we're not doubling down $100, $500, $1,000. We're talking about doubling down $10 or $20. But if the odds change immensely to 20 or 30 to 1 more in your favor because of the 2-loss start out of the first 3 weeks, we can totally see putting down another ticket if one of our tickets are, the Rams and Cincinnati and the Rams. Well, if we like them at 60 to 1 over here in August, we love them at 84 to 1 in the end of September. To just kind of to double down and get a little bit more return on our investment, especially if we turn out to be right, because you've got the original ticket that's going to pay you something, and now you got more coming extra, just better odds. Even if, let's say, the Rams are 3-0 at that point, and they go from 15 to 1 to 12 to 1. Well, but the other side dropped 20, so you're still going to get that push and pull that falls in your favor. Anyway, guys, so again, like and subscribe so you guys get the notifications when we have new content and material for you. We hope that next year is going to be a fun-filled year, and we did a lot of learning curve this year. We are going to set up everything. We are going to have the insiders with the direct phone number that about 50 of you are going to be able to sign up and call, and will be able to at night or day from Saturday morning to a Monday night football. I will be available to walk you through and talk you through sometimes whatever you need. There'll be a small subscriber base for that. We are also going to continue to give you guys out of our free picks and continue on with a lot of the content that we've been doing. We hope to be kind of growing a little bit in a way. We are definitely going to incorporate next year college and expand the NFL even more for more opportunity. So again, like and subscribe. Make sure you stay current with us. Again, aloha and mahalo for everything. Oh, by the way, and that's another thing, because we are going to be moving our base of operation to Las Vegas, not next year, but in a few. I'll keep you guys up to date on that. We're still probably going to be stuck here in Washington for at least the next 2. but we are putting things together, talking to some people to make a move to Vegas. So that's exciting for us as well. But anyway, like and subscribe and stay current with us, stay in touch with us. And again, aloha and mahalo for always checking in, tuning in, giving us your time. We know it's so valuable and important. We thank you so much for it. And as we always say, like in our beginning, be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and we will see you guys next week. Aloha.